What we have at the feeder right now at the suet is a red-bellied woodpecker. It's interesting that you'd think by looking at it that it would be called a red-headed woodpecker. But it's called a red-bellied because John James Audubon, when he was naming birds and collecting specimens, he would harvest the birds. He would actually shoot them. He had already shot the bird that we now know as the red-headed woodpecker. And so this bird, after he harvested it to paint it and to study it, he found out that underneath the belly were bright red feathers. So he called it the red-bellied woodpecker. We have a bunch of black-capped chickadees and also the snowbird or the junco at the feeder right now. Chickadees come up. It's selecting a sunflower seed in order to go ahead, and it, as you can see, it flew off. As that bird comes in, when the chickadee comes in, notice that its head is proportionally larger than the other birds. The reason being, it's smarter. It has more brain mass. The reason being, scientists think that that bird has the ability to go ahead and recognize hiding places. It will come, select a seed, and depending on what type of seed it is, that makes a decision of where it hides the seed. They say that it can actually remember dozens of hiding places. Then after a seed source is complete, the bird will go, and if it wants to have a sunflower seed, it will go ahead and go to its cache where the sunflower seeds are at. If it cares to have millet, it'll go right to the millet cache spot. Black-capped chickadees are year-round residents here. They're very, very inquisitive. We also have a purple finch at the feeder right now, standing on the suet, and they generally will go ahead and be around all winter long as you keep your feeders active and keep them supplied. Birds are able to go ahead and tell if a low front is coming in, and oftentimes an hour to 2 hours before a storm, they will just flock into these bird feeders in order to go ahead and fill up, because they need a tremendous amount of energy to get through the winter season. Now, we spoke about the black-capped chickadee quite a bit, and the black-capped chickadee actually eats 10 times more calories during the winter than it does during the summer, and it uses those calories in order to stay warm. The bird we have up on top of the we did have on top of the suet that had that little smudge of black on its chest is called a tree sparrow. Now, it's crazy that it got the name tree sparrow because this bird actually migrated from the north up around the tundra to spend its winter in the warmer climates of Pennsylvania. It doesn't nest in trees at all. Matter of fact, it spends most of its life when it's not around trees because it's up in the tundra area, and they generally make their nests on the ground or very, very low brush. And that is where they raise their young. Then, when a winter sets in the tundra and food supplies are dramatically reduced, then it migrates south into Pennsylvania, eastern United States, in order to spend its winter and eat the variety seeds that are around the area. Comes the chickadee back in. It looks like it's really wanting to cache those sunflower seeds. The bird on the feeder right now, that we just see the butt end of it, That is a white-breasted nuthatch, and that guy has the ability, and he will actually walk right up a tree, and he will look for insects, which during the summer is primary food that it eats. It will look for insects in the bark, and it will walk up the bark looking in every little nook and cranny for the insects that it can find. We have a woodpecker that just landed, and it's a downy woodpecker, and we can just, well, it flew off, and that's the difficult part about trying to film these guys, because they are very finicky and they do move around. So what we'll do is we'll just focus on the suet feeder and on the sunflower, and there's that white-breasted nuthatch coming back in again, and it has that mask. And very, very common bird that comes into the winter feeders at this time of year. The white bag that I have there has thistle seed in it, and that's primarily the finches like it. Occasionally we will have the blackcapped chickadees feed on that, but it's primarily out there for the American goldfinch. Some people call it the wild canary, and if we're fortunate, we'll be able to see some of those today. Folks, it's starting to get a little bit late in the afternoon. Bird activity at the feeder has slowed down, but what I'll try to do is splice together a couple of videos so that we're able to go ahead and see the wide variety of birds that are typical in an eastern United States bird feeder in the winter. It's important to remember that once you start feeding birds in the winter, they become accustomed to it. Not all the birds can remember where they hid those seeds like the blackcapped chickadee. They just don't have the big brain or the brain power to remember. So it's important that once you start feeding, if you start in the fall, continue that until the snow is gone and we start to get some vegetation on the plants. Then many of them will switch their diet over to insects, and the cycle of life begins as they prepare to go ahead and build their nests. Hey, this is the Mose. If you had enjoyed this little video at my feeder, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and every time that we do a new video, you'll be notified. That way you can keep track of what's happening in the outdoor world. Hey, have a great day. Thank you.